Hi, I'm Maria Kominou. I'm the Head of Operations for Production and Network in the South area.
Maria, thank you very much indeed for talking to the Affinity Water podcast today. We're going to look at water quality and how Affinity Water assures water quality for its 3.8 million customers across the southeast of England. Where are we and what happens here?
We are currently at our second largest treatment works in the company. And what happens here is we've got a number of remote borehole sources that come into this site, and we treat the water through our granular activated carbon filters that they're mainly for pesticides. We also add a little bit of chlorine, and then it goes into our ultrafiltration membrane plant that protects against cryptosporidium, and then out to our customers.
So that's quite a number of testing processes that are involved at this one plant.
There's a number of treatment works, but because this is borehole water, although of a karstic nature, they're a lot less compared to our surface water sites, and a little bit more from our purely groundwater traditional sites.
And where does Affinity Water mainly take water from?
We take water from the River Thames, so that's surface water, so that's mainly on our large treatment plants in the south area. But we also take water from boreholes, so that's 60% of our abstraction is through boreholes from chalk aquifers, and then 40% of our abstraction is river water.
So we do use some surface water sources, but mainly it's chalk aquifers.
Mainly chalk aquifers, but our biggest ones, they do use water from the River Thames, and then we utilize the water from both sources across our network.
And how does Affinity Water treat and process its water? You said there were almost two different processes for the two different sources of water.
So the river water takes a lot more treatment processes to get from source to tap. So typically the process there would be ozonation, clarification, granular activated carbons, rapid gravity filters and disinfection. A borehole site typically is a lot cleaner, so we usually treat it with ultraviolet light and chlorination.
And the borehole sources are the chalk aquifers?
Yes, they are, and typically they're a lot cleaner. Here where we are today, it's a karstic source, so it's got fissures in the aquifer, so it tends to have some influence from water that is surface water, from surface water runoff. So we see sometimes elevated turbidity coming in the source that has some complications compared to traditional borehole sites, that the water is a lot cleaner and the quality doesn't vary that much.
So from chalk aquifer to your tap at home, you sample and test the water frequently. You've just run through the process, but that process is done more than once.
Yes, so we take approximately 9,500 samples from customers' taps, 13,000 compliance samples from treatment works, and 8,000 compliance samples from service reservoirs, and we carry out 185,000 individual lab tests for compliance samples. We also take hundreds of operational samples every day from each process from our treatment works to make sure that the water quality is always of the highest standard and make sure that all of our processes are efficient and effective at all times. That's per year, yes.
How important is it for our customers to know how these processes work and how their own actions might make a difference? We have launched a scheme called Save Our Streams, which is encouraging households to reduce their water consumption.
I think it's important to know that we take water out of the environment, so we can all do as much as we can to protect that water and leave a lot of water back into the environment. So how we utilize water when we're at home or out and about is very important, because we can save a lot of water by our own habits and behaviors. So knowing the effort it takes and where the water is coming from, I think it's important, because then people appreciate this has an environmental impact and we can all do our bit to save the environment.
And our environmental teams are also working in what we call catchment area groups, aren't they? To stop, or if you like, to prevent nitrates entering the rivers, because then we have to pay. Take those nitrates out of the water supply system. So we are looking at working with farmers to do cover crops and to implement farming practices and embed farming practices in farming trials that would help take nitrates out of the rivers.
There's a lot of work that is done at the catchment stage, and it's important to work with the farmers, create awareness for how they use pesticides, herbicides, because that obviously has an impact on the water quality where we abstract the water from. So having those discussions and that awareness is really key, and there's a lot of annual events that are happening and a lot of discussions to make a positive improvement.
And also, as you said, the less water we as customers use, then the less we will take from the chalk aquifers. That's very important, isn't it?
Yeah, that is correct. So the less we use, then that means we leave more to the environment, and that creates better river flows at the local streams that we all enjoy to walk about during our day-to-day life.
And what comes across, Maria, is how carefully these processes are monitored by you day and night.
Our teams work, we've got standby teams that they would be out and about, even out of hours, if something alarms or something needs to be investigated, to make sure that there's water 24/7. We've got a number of teams that they would do proactive maintenance, but they will also react to any event, and that is our production operational teams on our treatment sites, but also out on the network to make sure that you've got always water of the right quality and quantity 24/7.
And we have done rather well in our recent scoring, because water quality is monitored by somebody called the Drinking Water Inspectorate. So we are subject to outside agencies monitoring the water quality, and we come out fairly well from those processes, don't we?
That is correct. So there is a mechanism where the Drinking Water Inspectorate assesses water companies on how we perform, how we maintain water quality. And Affinity Water has done really well on what we call the Compliance Risk Index, CRI. But the Drinking Water Inspectorate, they make sure they do technical audits on water companies, make sure that our operating practices are always effective. They assess our sampling program and our sampling results every year. They can also assess specific incidents and make sure that we've got the right recommendations and improvement plans in place. They will investigate any complaints from consumers. They've got obviously the right to enforce any activities. So they play a big part to make sure that the water companies, including ourselves, we do what we're supposed to do and we comply with all the regulations and the relevant standards.
And as we say, you take many, many samples each day. How many different sites would you have for water treatment? Because Affinity Water is a huge horseshoe. It goes from North London right down through what we call the home counties, Buckinghamshire, Bedfordshire, Hertfordshire, right down to Frinton and Saffron Walden. So you must be monitoring water quality throughout the regions.
We monitor water quality throughout all of our treatment works, all of our booster stations, our network, but also at our consumer taps to make sure that the water from source to tap is of the right quality.
So you get consumers involved in the process?
Yes, so each water company, including ourselves, would take some random samples from customer taps and to make sure that the water is still representative of the quality as it left the site.
That's fascinating. Do the customers like joining in that process? Do they see the importance of it?
I think it's about educating people, creating that awareness to make them understand of the importance of making sure that the water quality of the water we supply to the tap is always of the right quality, and then people come on board.
That's good. Well, first of all, we're going to put you on the spot because we're going to leave your office now here at the site, the water treatment site, belonging to Affinity Water, and perhaps take a stroll round so you can tell us a little bit about what a day in your life is like. Your job title is?
So I'm the head of operations for production and network in the South area.
So that must involve you being out of the office a lot.
It's a mixture between meetings, also visiting site, going to other locations for meetings with either internal or external stakeholders. There's a lot around quality, safety, our people, training and competence. We're currently in the budgeting season, so there's a lot around that. But we also have a lot of challenges with the weather. So coming into the freeze-thaw event, so there's a lot of operational requirements that I'm getting involved on a day-to-day basis.
And of course it was hot weather during the summer, high demand. So when our Save Water, Save Chalk Aquifers campaign really began to hit home, people realised the importance of saving water.
Absolutely. So the summer is always a challenging period. Last summer we had a lot of demand. So people obviously use a lot more water when the weather changes. And it's really important to safeguard those water supplies and make sure we save as much as we can at our own homes.
Good. Well, let's go out on site and just get a peep into what a day in your life might look like at a water quality treatment site. Thanks, Maria. I'll meet you outside.
See you in a bit.
Hi, Maria. Where are we?
So we're actually going to the granular activated carbon filters.
Right, and there's a big metal door in front,
There is.
which you are opening. I've got to be careful, treading over the steps. Right, and in front of me are a set of stairs.
Let's walk up the steps to go and see the GACs.
Right, let's do that. Gosh, well, you can feel the outside air, can't you? Very frosty day. Wow. So this is the water treatment processing works.
So here we're at the granular activated carbon filters. So there's a carbon media inside those filters, and you can see the water flowing through on the top. So this is water that has come through our various borehole sources, and then it will go through the media. This will take some of the pesticides out and a small amount of turbidity before it goes down to our basins, where we add a little bit of chlorine, and then into our UF plant, the ultrafiltration plant.
And here it will be tested.
We test it throughout the process, including here at the GACs.
Well, let's just walk to the end of the room, avoiding the pipes. As I said, it's a frosty day and you can feel that frost in the air. What have we got here?
So these are more GACs to be able to treat the water. We've got a number of GACs because this site can treat up to 153 million litres per day, which is the highest flow that we've done back in the summer last year.
Gosh, well, that is impressive, isn't it? Maria, lots of machinery buzzing in the background, but what's on this black substance on this table?
So this is granular activated carbon. Here in this cylinder, you can see it in the form that is inside the filters in its granular form. And here is how the product, is bituminous coal, how it arrives before we convert it into this granular activated carbon product. This is done by our supplier, but we use this for people to see when we've got visitors how it actually starts, and then what the media is when it comes into our filters.
Yeah, and it kind of looks like something that may have washed up on the beach, a black fossil. And why do you need these granules?
So these are for pesticides, and also it removes some of the turbidity.
And then we move on. How many more tanks? I mean, it looks like a small swimming pool surrounded by some large machinery. Now, your job, how often would you be out on site here?
It varies. So my day would be between meetings and site visits. So we could be doing visits for safety reasons, or to check progress on projects, or to meet internal, external stakeholders that they need to find more information about the site. So it varies quite a bit.
And how much responsibility does it entail? Because one can imagine these processes are very standard processes on one level, but also complex if a problem is detected.
So our teams go through competency training. So when they join us, they will go through a number of training, but also competency assessments and witness assessments on site to make sure that they are trained at the highest standard. And that will include the treatment processes, safety training, as well as being able to deal with fault finding and situations where they have to investigate an issue and come to resolution.
Now, I've met you online on the twice daily Affinity Water pace setter meetings. Just tell our customers what they are.
So the pace setter meetings, they're run by our control operations center. They monitor 24/7 all of our sites through our telemetry system. And on the pace setters, all the operational teams, the customer teams, communications teams, water quality, they come together and we discuss operational issues, any planned work that is coming up, or anything else like incidents that could be triggered by weather events or anything else, to make sure we always have in place plans to meet our customers' demands.
And you may, at one of those pace sitter meetings, you will say everything's okay at your water treatment plants. But if it isn't, you may have to close one down and get water from elsewhere. Is that right?
So what we do is we try to maximize our sites, but where there is a problem on one side, we try to work with our network and provide contingencies and workarounds in place so our customers always have water, no matter where that water is coming from. So we've got areas where we can feed from multiple sources to make sure that the water is always on.
And then if our audience were to imagine one of these pace setter meetings, there's a lot of computer screens, a lot of data involved, isn't it, on water transfers and how you get water from one point to another.
We've got a number of systems that gives us data and information of how our sites are performing. We also forecast of how demand is going to change, but also we look at our storage and our resilience to make sure we make decisions based on data.
Affinity Water, as an employer, has invested a lot in apprenticeships, even leakage apprenticeships, leaks. But people might not be aware of just how much science is involved, environmental science, in these water treatment processes.
So we do something similar in operations where we've got apprentices. The apprentices could be external, or last year we've upskilled our own staff. So our operatives were upskilled to a mechanical and electrical qualification to become production technicians, which was great. But we also ran a CABWI level 3 and level 4, which is a water industry awarding body, CABWI, and we're trying to get through all of our teams through the water treatment, water quality course to make sure that trained to the highest level, and they come to site, they learn the processes on site as well, so they understand the science, the theory, but also the practical element of running those sites. Upskilling is where we've got current people with their current skills, and we're trying to increase their knowledge and their skills through more training. And in this situation is either the CABWIs or the apprenticeship schemes to enhance their skills and learn more about mechanical, electrical aspects, but also water quality and water treatment process.
Yeah, and so upskilling, very important that Affinity Water invests in its employees. I mean, have you found your career interesting? It sounds fascinating.
I do, because I used to be one of the graduates. I've joined Affinity Water when we used to be called Three Valleys Water in the technical graduate scheme, and I've moved through different roles as an engineer, different management roles, and now in my current position I'm the head of operations in the south area. So the water industry is very interesting. There's always something really fascinating happening. You feel it's a really rewarding profession because we make a product that goes out to all of our customers, and we want to make sure that our customers, when they pour a glass of water, they never think twice, and they know that this is of the highest standard because of all the effort that all of our teams in Affinity Water has made to make sure that the product is the best they can get.
And what's the best part of your job, working with your colleagues?
I work with some very talented people, and I've learned so much from them through the years, and that's been amazing.
And your career from joining Affinity Water to being a head of must have taken you about 15 years?
Yes, so I've been 15 years with the company. So I'm originally from Greece, so I came here to do my master's in Brunel and then applied in the graduate scheme, and I've been here with the company ever since.
Good university, Brunel, and a very good company too. But let's just go and have a look at the other water treatment works. And I've got to ask the tricky question, Maria, but should a problem arise here, is it all systems go to close down the treatment works and to get water in from another region?
So what happens, it depends what the issue is. So we've got automated systems that will alarm or will shut down part of the process or the entire site to make sure that only water that is fit for consumption can go out of the door. But we've got storage reservoirs that we hold a lot of the clean treated water to be able to supply our teams, but we can also use other sources to be able to support our sites and move water between our regions to support our customers.
But again, the Drinking Water Inspectorate has given us good marks in its recent inspection of our water quality processes. And of course, if our customers want to report any concerns about water quality, they can do it through our website.
Yes, they can. They can speak to us, got op scientists and water quality samplers that they can give advice. But we're always here to make sure that our customers get what they need. And if they have any concerns, any questions, we are happy to answer them.
All right, 3 fast fire questions to put you on your spot. The best part of your day, when it begins or when it ends?
Oh, I love it. I don't mind. It's always exciting. So there's no such thing.
Okay, no such thing. What about the best things your colleagues have done to help you? Have they said, well, look, have you spotted this, Maria?
Our teams are very inquisitive. They're always bringing new ideas, and that is great. It's all about our people and making sure that we can make the best for our customers with our people, their knowledge. So without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do.
Career steps. Is there a next step for you? Do you want to be a director at Affinity Water? That really puts you on the spot, doesn't it?
See, I really enjoy what I do, and we'll see what happens in the future.
All right, well, Maria, thank you very much indeed for talking to us, the Affinity Water podcast, about water quality and treatment at Affinity Water, but an amazing number of samples taken each year just to make sure that the water from the river aquifers, from our reservoirs, is the best quality possible.
Absolutely. And thank you for joining me.